When I was 6 years old, my parents signed me up for sports camp. Every day was something new: soccer, swimming, basketball, baseball, and even hockey. I wasn't the best, but I was open to try new things. But that camp was the beginning of a very, very long identity crisis. Okay, I only 16, so not that long, but an identity crisis that caused a lot of pain, anxiety, and by the fifth grade, I thought about ending my own life. Before camp, I was a gentle, outgoing little boy. I was artistic, emotional, and expressive. I loved to put on my sister's tutus and sing Let It Go in the middle of our living room. That's the kind of boy that I was. But at camp, I was told I had to be aggressive. The coaches yell at me to go after the puck, attack the other team, fight the other boys. I didn't want to fight the boys for the puck. I wanted to twirl on the ice and pretend I was Elsa. And then the worst moment came was when I saw on the soccer field it scraped my knee. I started crying, and all the kids around me laughed and called me a girly boy. The coach came over and said, "Suck it up, boys don't cry." I was so confused because here I was, a boy crying. So what did that make me? In the years following, I was told over and over again that I wasn't acting like a normal boy. Girls hear it too. If they're tough, they're acting not ladylike. I began to doubt myself, and I started to spiral into an identity crisis, questioning who I was and who I wanted to be. Identity is the story that you tell yourself and others about who you are. And parents don't often realize it, but a lot of kids our age struggle with identity. For me, it was my gender expression, how to be the right kind of boy. But identity can also include your sexuality, spirituality, racial identity, social identity, or your cultural identity. My parents are both Chinese immigrants, so that's another layer to my identity. Should I act more like a Chinese teen to please my parents, or an American teen to fit in at school? Identity is a lot more complicated than just boy or girl, black or white, Kylie or Kendall. It could be tough and confusing at times. For me, it was so shameful that I thought dying would be easier. And that's why this topic matters. Did you know that according to the CDC, suicide is the second leading cause of death for ages 10 to 14? StopBullying.org estimates that 13 million teens each year in America are bullied for who they are. And a CNN report found that 40 million parents say they worry about their child's mental well-being, and yet they push our problem to the side and tell us that it's just a phase, or that we're too young to worry about those stuff. But identity is one of the most important and most intense parts of growing up, and it is crucial to self-love and self-acceptance. Because when you feel like nobody gets you, it's easy to lose hope. And when you're told over and over again that you're wrong or not normal, you may start to believe it. So today, I want to share the things that I learned from my identity crisis so you can find yourself without having a crash out. First, labels can be helpful, but they can also be limiting. A label is a word or phrase used to describe someone based on their traits, behavior, or identity. So like gay, straight, or leader, follower. But a label can quickly turn into another role you're expected to play. If you're the funny friend, you have to be funny all the time. If you're an overachiever, you're not allowed to get a bad grade. If you're popular, you have to act and dress a certain way to match that expectation. In elementary school, I was bullied for not being a normal boy. And by the 5th grade, I started to have suicidal thoughts. I was sick of being an outsider, and I began to wonder if there was a label that could help others understand who I was. And then I discovered the label transgender, which is when someone identifies as the opposite gender as their biological sex. So for me, I began to think I'm the girl. After all, I like fashion, music, and I was sensitive. Things everyone told me were girly. So for 2 years, I identified as trans at school. And my friends would go on TikTok and help research what I needed to do. They said, "Oh, you need a new name, and you need to go by she, her now." And so I did. I went by she, her for 2 years, and I picked a new name, Melody. Don't get me wrong. The label transgender can help some people explore the true versions of themselves. But for me, it still didn't fit. I didn't feel like a she, her, and I just wanted to be branded. Personally, chasing labels didn't get me far in exploring the true parts of myself. So that's my first tip for you. Don't worry about labels. It's okay to say something like, "I kind of feel like that, but I'm still figuring it out." And if you do pick a label, it's okay to change your mind. Second, make time for self-reflection. Self-reflection is when you take an honest look at yourself and ask, why do I think, feel, or act the way I do? By listening to your own inner voice, you can uncover your own thoughts and beliefs, which is challenging when we have parents, society, teachers, churches, and especially social media constantly telling us what to think. Social media culture is loud and conflicting. For every video on how to love your body, there's 100 videos telling you how to get a better body. That means turning off the devices while doing self-reflection. I know it sounds crazy, but I took a very, very long break from social media. And as a result, I felt less pressure and more freedom to figure out who I really was. Self-reflection can look different for everyone. Journaling could be a good start. For me, it was shadow work. Shadow work is taking a look at the parts of yourself that you usually hide, bringing them out to the open, and then understanding and accepting them. I would keep myself like an interview, acting and answering questions. I saw it like a conversation with my soul. I would ask, why was I self-conscious about that thing today? Or what do I secretly like but don't tell people about? And then I just answer and see what falls out. To be honest, I was scared of digging deeper. I was worried about what I might find. After I realized I wasn't transgender, I tried to deny the feminine parts of myself and act like a tough guy. And in some ways, my life did get better. My dad was relieved. Like many parents, he thought being normal would mean an easier life. But the more and more I tried to act like a normal boy, the weirder I felt. That's when the suicidal thoughts came back. Because hiding your real identity, whether it's your personality, beliefs, gender identity, or sexuality, can feel like you're living a lie. And when you can't safely be yourself, it can feel like there's no safe place to exist at all. And that way can become unbearable. Which brings me to my last tip on finding yourself. Find your people. The truth is, high school culture is dumb. Many of us are struggling with identity, but most people are so desperate to be popular that they just try to fit in and follow the leader. And there's a big fear in standing out because no one wants to be labeled as a loner or canceled, which is totally normal. Social rejection actually activates the same parts of the brain as physical pain. In our survival instincts tell us that we need a group to survive. But finding yourself is also a journey you can't fight on your own. Open up to a parent, teacher, friend, or someone you trust. And if you can't find your people at school, find a safe place where you don't feel judged. Explore new hobbies. Find people with shared common interests because that commonality can create the sense of belonging. And that's what happened to me. After years of feeling uncomfortable and lonely in my own skin, I found myself at music camp. A few summers ago, I went to violin camp, and for the first time ever, I didn't have to worry about my gender identity because we all shared the common bond as being musicians. And as a young musician, being emotional and sensitive was a good thing. At camp, I could experiment with different clothes and hang out with all types of people. And by the end of the summer, I felt okay just being me, Brandon. I'm a musician. I'm kind-hearted. I'm the Chinese American son of immigrants. And I'm a guy who's a little feminine. And you know what? That's okay. And here's the identity plot twist. I'm also an athlete. Full circle moment, right? I'm a varsity swimmer, and I love it. I'm not super popular, but I have a few close friends who get me, and that's all that matters. Identity is complicated. It's messy, and it changes as you grow and have new experiences. Finding yourself can be scary, but if you're open-minded, it can also be fun. So try new things because the truth is your identity isn't set in stone. And if you're in the middle of an identity crisis, remember these 3 things. Don't worry about labels, focus on self-reflection, and find your people. Personally, I could not have done this without my parents. They saw me struggling and stepped outside of their comfort zone to let me be me. And I'm so grateful for that. Parents, don't be your kids' first bully. Remember to listen, love, and accept them. You may not know how hurtful your words are, but I guarantee you'd rather have a child who's a little different than one who didn't survive the weight of hiding who they really are. And if you're a friend, remember, your job is to support, not judge. Listen, not fix. If you can't be there for your friend while they're figuring it out, then maybe you weren't really their friend after all. Lastly, if you're lost, just remember to trust your gut and be proud of yourself for even trying. Thank you.